Hello and welcome to a Smooth Economics video. Today we will be doing an introduction to revenue, and this video forms part of our larger revenue topic. Cool, so getting into it then, an introduction to revenue. The first term we need to understand is what is meant by total revenue. Total revenue then, to define it, the total income a firm generates from selling its output. It's the money the firm gets from selling what it makes. The equation for total revenue is TR for total revenue equals price, P, times quantity, Q. This is the case because we assume that the firms sell all their units at the same price, and therefore that's the money they get for every individual unit, times by the total number of units. That gives us the total money they bring in, the total revenue for the firm. The next term we need to define is what's meant by average revenue, i.e. the revenue per unit of output, i.e. given the firm has made so much money and sold so many goods, what is the average amount of money, the average amount of revenue that each unit brings in? And the equation for this is AR equals total revenue divided by Q. The key question then, why is average revenue equal to demand? Why does AR equal D? This relies on the assumption of a uniform price, i.e. that one single price is charged in the market. If this is the case, since total revenue equals price times quantity, we can now rewrite our average revenue equation as AR equals price times quantity all over quantity. The Q terms will then cancel out and we are left with average revenue equals price. Therefore, the AR curve, i.e. the curve that shows how average revenue varies with quantity, gives the same information as the firm's demand curve, which tells us the price at any given quantity. So, average revenue equals price equals demand. Marginal revenue then, the next term to define, marginal revenue, the addition to total revenue from selling one more unit of output. To recap, this marginal term refers to the incremental change to one variable from an additional unit to another. In the case of marginal revenue, we are incrementally changing the output, the quantity level by 1, and we are examining the effect that has on total revenue. The equation for total revenue then is the equation for marginal revenue then is the change in total revenue over the change in quantity, where that delta symbol, that triangle, denotes change in the variable. If you know a little about mathematics, you could also see that the marginal revenue is the gradient function of the total revenue curve. It is the differential of total revenue. When marginal revenue is equal to 0, total revenue is maximised, and we'll be looking at that in more depth later on. And marginal revenue then is a really important concept for working out how to maximise profits, and we'll look at that in our profits topic. Moving on then, we need to know that there are two types of firms now that each have slightly different ways of looking at their revenue. So it's an important thing to make. Not all firms have the same shaped demand curve. Whilst in industries and markets in general, demand curves are downward sloping, different firms might have different demand curves or different shapes of demand curve within that industry. And this will depend on whether they have some degree of influence over the market price, or whether they simply have to take the price determined by market supply and demand. So the first type of firm is price setters, and these are ones that can change their price to alter the quantity that they sell. Given the law of demand, a firm can lower its price in order to increase the quantity demanded. In other words, an individual price setter faces a downward sloping demand curve. In order for this to happen, a firm requires some level of product differentiation. This can be as simple as producing similar but different products, or branding. A good example could be perhaps Pepsi and Coca-Cola. If we look at these two prices for 2-litre bottles of Pepsi Max and Diet Coke, the Pepsi Max sells for £1.70 for 2 litres, whereas the Diet Coke sells for slightly more, £2 for 2 litres. So that implies that Coca-Cola has slightly more price setting power than Pepsi. put that into context of their demand curves, that would imply that the Coca-Cola demand curve is greater than the Pepsi demand curve, i.e. Coca-Cola can charge a higher price and still sell the same quantity as Pepsi if it was charging a lower price. The next type of firm then are price takers. These are firms that are unable to influence the market price and therefore they must simply accept the prevailing market price. These are, as I said, price takers. The market for a product, the demand and supply for said product, determines the price, and the individual firms in the market can sell as many units as they wish to at this price. This often happens in markets with homogeneous, i.e. identical goods, where the firms have small market shares. If you consider the market for cola, these would be the supermarket cola brands in the industry. Other conditions are required though, but we will examine these in more detail later. So these individual firms, these individual price takers, they face a perfectly elastic, flat, individual demand curve, that horizontal demand curve. Examples then linking back to supermarket cola, Morrison's and Sainsbury's, 50p for 2 litres of Diet Coke at Morrison's, 45p for 2 litres of the same or similar product at Sainsbury's. Pretty close in price, but both of these firms, or both of these products, have much lower prices than we saw for Pepsi and Coca-Cola, where they were price setters. So to look at the demand curves for price takers, the market, supply and demand, generates an equilibrium price, and the price takers can sell as much as they want to at that same price. So they're that flat, perfectly elastic demand curve. Thanks for watching this smooth economics video. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. You can also visit our website, www.smootheconomics.co.uk. Here you can find more resources, extension materials, details of upcoming courses, competitions, and much more. We are also on social media. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook with the handle @smootheconomics. Thanks again for watching, and we hope that you continue to enjoy our videos into the future.